The Gallagher Shots podcast is sponsored by Tyre Spot, the North East's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. Tyre Spot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tyrespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Gallagher Shots YouTube channel and podcast. We are back with the second match reaction of the season. I am your host, Chris, joined this week by Ian and Nickel. We're going to jump straight into it. I think this one's going to be a bit of a downbeat one. I'm not going to lie. There wasn't much to take from that game. There's a couple of talking points, but we'll go as always. We'll go to the starting 11. Coming to you, Ian, first of all. Once again, there's a debate between the right back position, if Trips was going to come in or if Tino was going to keep his spot. Eddie Howe mentioned a few times in his pre-match conference that the reason Trips didn't feature in the first game was he had only had 10 days or 10 training sessions or something like that in pre-season, whereas Tino did quite well in pre-season. The shock today was that Lewis Hall was dropped to the bench and Lloyd Kelly came in to replace him, which I'll get your opinion on it in just a second, but that shocked me a little bit. I know Hall the week before against Southampton, he had a bit of a tough time at times, not throughout the full game, but made some questionable decisions. That back heel, which I keep on mentioning, which put everybody back in my own 6-yard box. Absolutely crazy. Then he struggled at times, but I wasn't expecting him to be dropped for this game. I'm not sure what you thought.
No, I was the same. I think, obviously, up until sort of Kieran Trippier's future at the club or status at the club is decided, I think you're going to have that sort of 50-50 where does he start Tino or does he start Trippier? Obviously, Kraft coming in at right centre-half because I think it was discussion that maybe Kelly could come in and play centre-half, but then you've got a little bit of an unbalance with two left-footed centre-half. So for the balance, it made sense for Kraft to come in. I thought for the most part he done quite well. He's fairly solid against Southampton when he came in. Like you say, I thought Hall did struggle last week, but not to the point where I thought he would be dropped. I think there was quite a few players last week that were very below par, and that continued into this week. It's interesting, just touching on Eddie Howe's comments there with the reasons why Trippier wasn't starting was because of the lack of pre-season time. Mm-hmm. Anthony Gordon's had the exact same amount of time as him, and he's starting over Harvey Barnes. And Harvey Barnes, for the most part, had a fairly solid pre-season as well. So it's interesting that that's what his reasons for not starting Trippier was. Maybe something more going on, you don't know. But yeah, I was a little bit shocked to see Hall dropped. Then when we'll get into it later on when he come on, I thought it was a positive change that was needed, him coming on, and then the rest of the team picked itself.
So the opening start of the game, Nickel, is Newcastle. They came out of the traps. Probably what you would expect from a away team to start with. We just went for it for the first 10, 15 minutes, I would say. But obviously, opportunities didn't arise to score, which just allowed Bournemouth to slowly get control of the game. I would say after the 15th minute, it wasn't necessarily backs against the wall, but you could just tell that Bournemouth were quite comfortable at times, and poor Joe Linton had an afternoon to forget at times because everything he touched, he just seemed to lose.
Yeah, we had then a couple of half chances really with Isaac getting past a couple of players and putting it across the face of goal, but no one was there to sort of finish it off, and then Bournemouth did sort of start to get the foot on the ball a bit more and start to dominate the possession really. And then, you know, the first goal is unfortunately Joe Linton sort of dilly-dallying with it on the edge of his box. I think, to be fair, I don't think he had many options for a forward pass, but still you can't really lose it in that situation. And then from there, they went and scored. And I think it was Tino at the back post who actually slept for the goal. But yeah, that was obviously a poor start to go into half time with.
It seems to be a common trend. I know we're only 2 games in, Ian, but just pissing about on the edge of the box a little bit too much at the minute. Joe Linton obviously got caught today. Hall last week almost at fault for conceding a goal as well for doing a similar sort of thing. We're used to Bruno doing it, and you always feel comfortable when Bruno does it because he normally wins a free kick or gets himself out of that tricky situation. But if you look at the centre of the field as well today, and I'm going to mention Joe Linton again, and everybody knows I'm a big Joe Linton fan, but I thought he struggled at times today.
Yeah, like you say, after the sort of first 10, 15 minutes, I thought for the most part it was quite refreshing to see we're controlling a game, particularly after last week. I know obviously the red card didn't help, but I thought the midfield were pretty dominant. They were playing some quite nice stuff where they were playing a ball into Joe Linton. He was just popping it off to Bruno, and Bruno was playing in long stuff, and then we're breaking. And like Nichols said, we're sort of getting Isak in a more wider area to put the ball in. But it just, after the sort of 10, 15 minutes where I don't know if it was, we've been playing well, we haven't scored. I don't know if it was confidence, but we just looked like we had been playing for about 2 weeks or something. We just looked
it looked like the end of the season game, didn't it?
Yeah, like there was no energy. Like you were struggling to get on the ball. Like you say, there was countless players getting caught in possession. Kelly was another one, getting caught in possession,
putting Pope in dangerous positions as well, because him and Dan Burn just kept on passing it back, and not just Dan Burn, but it seemed to go from the likes of Kelly passing to Burn that was like 5 yards away, but passing it at some sort of force. Then Dan Burn not really knowing what to do, or then obviously going back to Pope, where Pope just has to absolutely smash it. And we've done that far too many times, and I was comfortable with it.
And then they had the warning shot of was that Semenya hit the bar, which was a cracking strike. So the warning signs were there. We'll let them back in. Like I just seen, I don't know what's up with that at the minute, but we just don't seem like we're that team that 2 seasons ago where intensity was our identity. There's zero intensity at the moment. I genuinely don't know what's wrong. And then obviously, I think Nicola touched on the Joe Linton caught napping, and then Tino doesn't react to, I think was it Tavernier that scored for them? He just runs off him. Tino sort of jogging back. Kraft, could he have swung a foot? He probably could have, but then the likelihood is it's his weaker foot. That could have easily been an own goal. But just the first half performance, like the majority of the game, I just thought was so lackluster from where it was almost like a bunch of like people that have won a competition and just said, there you go, you go play football. There was no like direction or anything. And then I think sort of after that Semenya chance, I think Scott touched on it as well. Like Isak we just couldn't get him in the game. Like Gordon again this week was so poor. Like obviously he got the goal, and we'll touch on that later. But there was no intensity from him. Like even in sort of when he's getting the ball, you have Gordon as like your explosive player to drive you forward. There was none of that. So it was very, very frustrating. And Bournemouth, to be honest, deserved to go in half time. Probably I'd say at least 2-0 up.
Yeah.
And then come out second half. I know Eddie Howe doesn't make changes. I know a lot of teams don't make changes at half time, but I was very surprised that he kept some of them players on. Like Murphy today was absolutely honking. Like his passes were going out for throw-ins. It was going 5-10 yards behind where players were. Like, but yeah, like I say, we'll then make the changes if you want to touch on them, and then it sort of changes the flow of the game.
Yeah, when obviously later on in the second half, Nicola, that's when there's 3 different changes made each time. Obviously, you get the addition of Trips coming on, but then you get like some Willock coming on and Bonds, which was the 2 which interested me when those came on. And you're thinking, right, let's see what we can do, because we said last week that it's probably the first time in a long time I had a strong bench, and you saw it again today. So the options are there available, and it just proved the worth of having a squad today, because Bonds in particular for me changed the game. Those 3, well, actually it was the 3rd time, lucky where we scored from it, but Bonds did that cross twice before it, and One of it was Joe Linton's header, which came off his shoulder, which he should have done better with that chance, but it is a good save either way. But yeah, Barnes really impressed me. Just direct, going to get to the edge of the box. And it was a lifted ball. It wasn't necessarily what you would class as an old school cross. It was just into the box, thinking
like
it.
little dinking, wasn't it? Yeah. I think we improved slightly, but only for about 5 minutes when Trippier and Barnes came on. But then I think when he brought Willock on as well and Hall, I think that was like the almost the catalyst of when we actually were really sort of pressing them backwards and really having a go. And then we I'm sure Barnes had a good chance with his left foot. It just flashed wide. That was just before we scored.
Yeah.
And he was sort of the danger man for us, and we were sort of penning them back a bit. And then obviously we got the goal with the little dink ball, and then Gordon puts it into the back stick. And
so I'm going to mention at this point, because I got a text message from my good mate Chris, you might be listening to this or watching back. He texted us about 30 seconds before Gordon scored, just basically saying what commentator curse every single time and saying that Gordon just doesn't look interested today. 30 seconds later, he sticks it in the back of the net. But it's typical, isn't it? When a game, obviously, and once again, I'm going to use the phrase backs against the wall, but I don't think it was that sort of thing. It was just a bit of a lackluster performance, but we managed to grab a goal because we kept on knocking on the door. Of course we did. For that 10, 15-minute spell, just knocking, and you're thinking, we're not really getting the chances that really are going to fall to a way a player can just absolutely smash in the back of the net, which eventually lands to Gordon. It's a great finish from Gordon as well, because it's quite a tight angle behind the keeper, though, but it's a great finish. And at that point, Ian, and I put it in our WhatsApp group, I think we could go and win this now, because it was all of us. But as soon as we got that goal, I know Bruno got a chance as well, which is another great save, because that's going to the top corner as well. But Bournemouth, as soon as we get our goal, they come straight back out with.
Yeah, it was almost like Bournemouth had been sort of tricked into like a false sense of security, as they don't have to like go change gears and they can see the game out, and it sort of give them a kick up the arse. I think they had, can't remember who it was. It might have been Semenya, it might have been Tavernier again. Had one where Pope's don't get us wrong, it wasn't Pope's fault or anything like that. It was just nowhere near. It was a quality strike. They had a one where the new lad for them, Evan Nielsen, got his studs to the ball, just couldn't direct it in. They had another one where it was sort of low and hard, just went past the post. And I was thinking the exact same as you. Sort of that 10-minute spell that we had, that they only looked like there was going to be one team that were going to go on and win. And like you said, Bournemouth then sort of changed gears and caused more problems again. Their keeper made two really, really good saves, one off Burn and, like you say, one off Bruno. And then you're thinking that the game's probably going to peter out. And then I think the initial chance, the corner that when we touch on it, that they sort of score their disallowed goal from, comes from because Dan Burns clotheslined their keeper and got a booking. Can't remember who it was, but the run past Dan Burn, if he's not on a yellow card there, he brings them down. That doesn't happen, so they get a shot off, they get a corner, and then if you want to go through the handball, because to me, I know we got gypped last week with VAR, but
we'll talk about it. So
it's
the thing, obviously, the Burn. It's not necessarily clothesline from Burn, but we'll get on to it.
He sort of drags him back.
Just nudges him, just jumps in front of him and just knocks him off balance. He knows exactly what he's doing. Then I know exactly what you're talking about, because Burn gets a couple of chances where you're thinking, normally if he doesn't already have a yellow card, he's just wiping this player out. And that comes twice, and I'm thinking, oh, don't do it. But luckily he doesn't. But yes, they get their goal. It's a great ball into the box. It really is. And do you know what it is? For us being renowned to have such this tall defense and dominating defense in the air, Dan Burn, he gets absolutely annihilated there in the 6-yard box, and Joe Linton's just in front of him. Joe Linton jumps, completely misses it. Dan Burns it's just weird. I don't know what Dan Burns doing in this situation, but he tries to put the player off. Ball hits the back of the net, and you're thinking, was it 92nd minute or something daft like that they score, and you think, shite, that's it, game over. Then Nicola goes to VAR, then you see the replays and the commentators are saying, it's gone to VAR because they're checking for a handball decision. I am unbelievably shocked and grateful that goal was ruled out, because if that's the other way around, I am spitting feathers at that, because that's a disgraceful decision.
Yeah, you can see why Bournemouth were as sort of angry as they were. One of the coaches got a red card, didn't he, towards the end?
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't what you call clear cut, was it? It was sort of, I don't know, it was almost where the sponsor of the sleeve sponsor is. And on the slow mo replay, I didn't even know if it had hit Burn and gone in. So I was
that's what I had thought.
I thought it maybe hit him, but I was surprised they didn't send him to the monitor to go and check it, because I thought in that situation that's the sort of thing they would send someone to the monitor for.
Yeah.
But obviously just flashed up as disallowed, and then obviously we're grateful for that. But I do definitely think we've got away with one.
100%.
Yeah.
Like 100%. No doubt about it. Like,
if that's us, we're wanting to go for that, aren't we?
Of course. What and what do you know what it is? Like, as Newcastle fans, we can sit here now, and even if we had conceded and that goal stands, I don't think anybody stands saying, "Oh, it's handball, like it should have been disallowed." I think everybody, right, it is what it is. The fact that it was disallowed, and we can sit here and go, "We got away with one there." Like, and we'll speak about another moment in just a second. But what's really annoying me now is that we're listening to the likes of the pundits afterwards, and somehow I'm not disagreeing to saying that should have been disallowed before people jump at us. But now people are saying that it didn't hit his top of his arm and it hit his shoulder up here. This is what no, you can clearly see it's like hit what we said where the sponsor is. It still should have stood. The goal should have stood. But let's not get out of hand and say, "Oh, it hit the top of his shoulder." Shit, like everybody saw where it hit. It's still a goal at the end of the day. But let's stop trying to change it. Like, the referee got it wrong, VAR got it wrong. Whatever, great for us. Understand why they're booting right off, because we would be exactly the same. Tyndall would probably be throwing punches at people, but it was disgraceful.
Sent off. He would have been sent off. If he could have been around. Yeah, I think a big thing that Jamie Redknapp said in the 2 minutes that Sky talked about at the end of the game was that none of our players appealed for it, so that's normally a talent sign as well. So,
well, that's what you say is okay, but if you watch the game back, Bruno does run straight over to the referee and seeing handball. There is a couple of players around him. It just didn't really highlight it much because it was just constantly focused on like the VAR. And it was strange in that maybe this is a new thing where the referee doesn't get sent to the monitor. We saw it a couple of times last week. But if they're going against the on-field referee and getting him to check his decision, why is he not checking it? Why are they basically saying, "No, you got that wrong"?
Yeah, I was like giving updates in the group chat, even though I kicked off with Daryl for doing the exact same thing a couple of weeks ago. But like for me, it was, I thought when because the commentary team said something like, "Oh, Bournemouth aren't going to like the outcome," and I thought they were going to say, "Oh, they're going to go and check the monitor." And I thought even then, when you check the monitor, look at the replays, I have to say, I do think it came a little bit higher up than the sleeve sponsor. Not quite as high as a shoulder, but above there. And then looking at the replays, I don't even think it touches him. I genuinely think it comes off Dan Byrne's shoulder and goes in. But for them to just outright like rule that out and not have the referee double check it just to say like, "Are you sure?" Like we got off massively with that one. If that was the other way around, I'd be absolutely fuming.
It just sums it up though when you look at it. We've got we're like half an hour after the game's finished, and we've got 3 people here, and all 3 of us are saying that's hit different part of the arm. But
still, regardless what part of the arm, it's a part of the arm that would have, and then to add further insult to injury, we go down the other end. They try and do a quick break, and then Joe Linton delivers a clothesline from hell.
You can't, you know what it is? You can see what Joe Linton's trying to do. He's trying to stop the keeper. I don't think Joe Linton realised where his arm is going at this point, and he literally wraps his right arm like a boa constrictor around the neck of the keeper. And you're thinking the referee runs straight over and books him. And do you know what it is? I'm thinking VAR might have a look at this because. Do you know what it is? Joe Linton's a very, very lucky boy to stay on that field there, because you would not be surprised if the referee had been told that maybe you should double check this one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like
away with two.
I genuinely, again, as a Newcastle fan, I can sit here and say, like, I'm not biased toward it. It's for me, it's a red card. Like,
yeah, it'd be soft, but it's a red card in my books.
Well, yeah, it's like it's effectively, to be honest, that's more aggressive and dangerous than what Shea got sent off for. There's like, and again, we sat here this time last week, did a match reaction, talked about VAR decisions. We're doing the same again this week. It's an absolute joke. And if there is any Bournemouth fans watching, to be honest, he's got absolutely robbed there, like both of a goal and of a sending off, like
100%.
And to be honest, I wouldn't have begrudged. I think the performance from us, I wouldn't have begrudged them winning the game because I thought they did enough. Obviously, we did have that little spell in the second half, sort of 10, 15 minutes, where we're improved. But I just think it's the second game of the season, and it would genuinely look like we're out on our feet. It's like that run of games where we played the same starting 11 for like 4 or 5 games in a row. That's the energy levels that they're putting out at the minute. And that's the second game of the season. For me, that's quite constant. And I don't want to be negative. Obviously, I know that there can be improvements. There's literally a whole season to go. But if we're serious about looking at getting into challenging the European places, there needs to be so much more put in from the players that are going out. That being said, we're 2 games in, we're unbeaten, we've got 4 points. And
do you know what it is? We can't forget we never play well against Bournemouth. That's not saying that we lose every game against Bournemouth, but it's never really a great performance. Nick, we'll always struggle against Bournemouth. Eddie Howe's yet to get a result in the Premier League against Bournemouth. We'll beat them in the Cup if I remember right, but not in the Premier League. So it's telling sign there straight away that Eddie Howe struggles when he comes up against Bournemouth. And do you know what it is? Fair play to Bournemouth that they had a good go today, like they really did. High press as well. So what you probably expect from our side, we're just constant on the heels of defenders and not giving them a chance to breathe. Whereas we were shocked by it. We really were right the way through that game. Apart from those brief spells that we did have slight control, but we just couldn't capitalize on it. I think to agree with Ian, I think Bournemouth fans they've got every right to be pissed off. They really do, because we'd be sat here having a complete different conversation if it was the other way around and we scored that late winner and it gets cruelly taken away from us right at the end as well. Not to mention the Joe Linton thing, which I think they probably got over that bit. That's nothing really. Hasn't really affected the scoreline with it being so late on. But I don't know. Like to just address what Ian's saying, Nickel, that yes, we're 2 games in. The performances so far haven't been what we probably expect from this team, but we can flip it around a little bit and just come back and say, yes, like Ian said, it's 2 games, it's 4 points. Performances haven't been great, but we haven't lost a game.
Yeah. I think, well, before the game, I don't know about you two, but I would have taken a point anyway from this.
I predicted 1-1.
From your recent sort of history down there.
I know a lot of other fans were, we need all 3 points, but I would have taken the points first away game of the season. Given how we played last week, although we had 10 men, we looked fatigued then, we looked fatigued again today. But given all the things that happened in the game and how badly we played for probably, I'm going to say 70 minutes of the game, you're snatching the hand off for a point. And we're just we've got a bit of a big week coming up because we've got the Cup on Wednesday, obviously, and then Spurs at home next Sunday. Which historically recently we do quite well in. So hopefully we
do. Spurs were great at the weekend though, weren't they? Really were. We've got the Cup game coming up. There is a match preview being recorded for the Cup game later on this evening. So that'll probably be out tomorrow, being Monday. Just to wrap it up, I'll be back on Monday night as well, live at 8:00 with the Always Smiling Faces podcast lads as well. Another busy week, lads. Fingers crossed we can get over that hurdle on Wednesday. Then obviously all attention to the St. James's Park game on Sunday as well. Thanks everybody who has been watching. Been a pleasure as always. Just like the video, means a lot to us. Become a subscriber if you want to do that. If you do want to give an extra bit back, it is just $2.99 a month to become a member. You get early access to content. You get extra content as well in there, as well as access to the Telegram group. We'll see you next time. What was it doing? Ta-ra!